Happy morning, students. In today's video, we will take a look at reproduction in plants. To produce its kind is a characteristic of all living organisms. You have already learned this in class 6. But how do plants reproduce? There are different modes of reproduction in plants which we shall learn in this chapter. Plants reproduction is a process by which the plants generate new individuals or offsprings. Reproduction is either sexual or asexual. In asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved and there is no formation or the fusion of male and female gametes. Whereas in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved and hence there is a formation and the fusion of male and the female gametes. In lower organisms like bacteria and lower plants like algae, and even in fungi, asexual reproduction takes place by the fission, fragmentation, or by the formation of spores. In some or higher plants, the vegetative parts of a plant like the root, stem, or the leaf helps in the producing new plants. And such kind of reproduction is called vegetative propagation. Now let's focus on the binary fission in bacteria. Bacteria reproduce asexually by the method of binary fission. Binary means two, fission means splitting. In this method, the nucleus splits or divides into two, and then the cell splits across the middle, forming the two small identical cells called the daughter cells. In some organisms like chlorella and chlamydomonas, one cell divides into four daughter cells, and this process is called the multiple fission. Second type of asexual reproduction is a budding. This method is commonly seen in the yeast. Here, the parent cell produces an outgrowth called the bud. The bud grows and then detached along with the daughter nuclei from the parent body once it attains a full size and leads an independent life. And the next kind of asexual reproduction which takes place in the Spirogyra is fragmentation. In organism like Spirogyra, which is long ribbon-like filament, one filament grows and breaks off into two or the more parts called the fragments. Then each fragment will grow into an individual, and this type of reproduction is called the fragmentation. Next is about the spore formation. It is commonly seen in ornamental plants like the mosses and the ferns, while the spores on the underside of the leaves. The spores are light in weight and carried away by the wind, water, and even by the insects to different places. Once it reaching a suitable conditions for the growth, the spores germinate, giving rise to the new plant. Fifth type of asexual reproduction is a vegetative reproduction. In certain plants of leaves, stem, and the roots, the vegetative parts here which will give rise to a new plants called the propagules, and such process is called the vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation can either be natural or artificial. Let's know about the natural vegetative propagation. In that the first one, reproduction by the stem. The stems of the common grass grow horizontally parallel to the ground. These roots grow downward into the soil and shoot upward to form a new plant. Ginger, which can be called as a modified stem, it has scaly leaves, nodes and internodes. The farmers grow ginger from small pieces of ginger containing these axillary buds. Similarly, potato is another example of a modified stem. Potato bears a vegetative bud called the eye. Cut a piece of a potato with the eye, put it in a moist water which contains soil, and the new plants grow from these buds within a few days. Reproduction by the leaf. Leaves of some plants, the best example is a bryophyllum, produces buds in the notches and the margins of a leaf. When such leaves fall in moist soil, the buds in the margins begin to grow as young tiny plants. Next, all about the reproduction by the roots. Plants like the sweet potato and asparagus, which will have the numerous swollen fleshy roots. These roots contain a large quantity of food inside them. Each such single root is capable of giving rise to a new plant. Whereas in case of biennial plants like carrot, its root grow vegetatively in the first year and stores the food. In the second year, its stem produces flowers and the seeds, which die by the end of a second year. After that, the buds produced at the base of the old stem just above the taproot are meant for the vegetative propagation. Let's look at the differences, that is, the advantages and the disadvantages of the vegetative reproduction. Farmers mainly prefer to grow certain crops by vegetative method, and this is because of the following advantage. Reproduction by the vegetative parts takes place in a very shorter period of time, and even it can be done in a very small area with a faster growth, which will have all the good characteristics of mother plants or retained by the daughter plants because of this vegetative propagation method. There are few disadvantages of the vegetative reproduction. As all plants developed by vegetative reproduction are genetically identical, that means they are all likely to be affected simultaneously if a disease spreads in the form. Second disadvantage is about dispersal of a plant does not take place on its own. That is, daughter plants are developed tend to remain nearby and are restricted to a particular area, leading to competition for the resources. These are the two main disadvantages of the vegetative propagation. Let's recall what we have studied in today's session. We have started with the definition of reproduction, and we came to know that there are two modes of reproduction in plants, that is, asexual method and also about the sexual method of reproduction. There are many modes of asexual reproduction like binary fission, fragmentation, spore formation, budding, and even vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction may be of natural and artificial types. Natural vegetative propagation includes reproduction by the stem, which takes place in the ginger and sweet potato, and reproduction by the leaf by keeping bryophyllum as an example, and finally reproduction by the root with the help of sweet potato and the carrot. And lastly, we have winded up with the advantages of the vegetative reproduction and also about the disadvantages of the vegetative reproduction. In the next session, let's speak about artificial vegetative propagation, which is done by the farmers and even by the horticulturists, the benefits and the limitations of the artificial vegetative propagation. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe.